You guys ready?
Si,
senor. Okay. Welcome to Easy Awakenings. This is podcast, number 5?
Number 5. Cinco.
Number 5.
I thought you said you already did 5. We're starting out with lies, are we?
We are. Wait.
No, go ahead and start over.
Is it? Which one is it?
Take 2.
Take 2.
No, technically it is number 5.
That's right, because we did the intro episode.
Okay.
You're throwing me off, David. You're
What we
throwing
were
me
doing is we were cutting. Some episodes were pretty long, so we wanted to cut them in half.
Do you want to start over now that I've completely fucked it up for you, so you don't have to edit?
We could just cut it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Welcome to Easy Awakenings, podcast number 5. We're here with almost said Victor. We're here with Adam. Adam
Victor's
King.
here. Victor's here. Adam
King, author, composer, speaker of the new book Ethic. What the hell do you do, Adam? What are you all about? Why don't you explain that a little? What are you here for?
Well, we've cut out an awful lot of stuff because I wanted to make this easy. No, I wanted to talk about some pretty important topics today. I know that there's a lot of information that people are kind of cutting out the good parts in the middle. So we wanted to talk about money in such a way that we're not using the word abundance, because there's some things that I want to share that make a lot more sense than just going out and making money. And also, I think that it's pretty easy to say that a lot of people, if not everybody, to some extent is lost right now with what they're doing with their lives. And I hate to be cliche, but the whole happiness, meaning of life thing. But before I get into this, and I will talk about the book, and I do want to talk about a story right off the bat. But Victor, you and I were just talking, and you said you want to be real. You want to be very, not controversial, so to speak, but you want to be right up.
Yeah, we just want to be upfront, with our podcast, with you, definitely with all the listeners or viewers at some point we get there. But we're basically wanting to give our own sort of twist on spirituality, add some comedy to it. But we want to let people know that all the bad stuff as well as the good stuff, and definitely when you get to a point, the good stuff far outweighs the bad stuff, but it's the bad shit that we magnify like a mofo, right? Yeah. Right.
Well, so you're talking, give an example. You're just people's negativity.
Negativity, how to handle their negativity.
Like daily situational kind of stuff. Okay. So like if you're driving on the road, this has been kind of a big one for us. Mm-hmm. You're driving the road, someone cuts you off. Immediate reaction. That guy's a dickhead, or he's an asshole.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Sure, let's hear it.
As I was driving here...
Does it involve coffee?
No, it does not involve coffee. But it could. So this is why I love the philosophy. I call it parallel awareness. Okay, parallel awareness is me and me without my story. Okay, the guy cutting you off in traffic and you being pissed off, that's your story.
Yeah.
So on the way here, literally, when I turn left on the road down here, there was a guy in a early 2000s Chevy pickup truck, and his front left brake was smoking, and he was hanging his head out the window. And I told him what the problem was.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my road incident on the way here. And here I am looking like I do now, driving a nice car. I shouldn't have these answers.
But he's got a good salad. Good salad.
Right. Yeah, I got the hairs going. But the point is that this is what we're going to talk about, resourcefulness. Yeah. This guy sitting here is brake smoking. I said, did you just change them? Yup, just changed them. And I explained what the problem was. He goes, oh, man, I appreciate it. And that was the problem. I guarantee it. Yeah. Okay, I don't know if you looked at my brakes on the van when I pulled up, but they're beautiful. They're cross-drilled. I got nice colored rotors. I do all my own work on my own cars. It's just one of my hobbies that I like. Anyway, getting to the point of these 3 things that we're going to talk about: purpose, experience, and resourcefulness. And I do want to engage you like I just did, because you were talking about, the people getting, cutting us off and us getting pissed, and, to the point where it can get really nasty. Like when I was a teenager, you didn't want to cut me off. I literally would I'd be the guy that got stupid and got out of the car.
Yeah. So you can relate to having your ego sort of fly off.
Listen. I can relate to doing some of the dumbest shit. You can I'll give you an example. My wife and I were at our cabin. We were at the beach, and I was writing a book. Okay, and this is another book from we'll talk about that maybe later. And I come out there with my straw hat and the umbrella with the bamboo. Yeah. And we had a dog, and we had a shovel in case the dog went to the bathroom on the beach. We picked it up, right? So I'm going to put the umbrella into the sand, and it's too hard. and my wife says use the shovel. So I grab the shovel and I start tapping on the bamboo to hit it into the... You guys, you're both looking at me like, right, that makes perfect sense. I said, I'm going to break the damn thing. She goes, use the shovel, in motions to use the shovel the way it's supposed to. In other words, dig a hole, put the thing... Yeah. So yeah, I can relate to some of the dumb things that we do.
Yeah, but something told you, right, in your life, like, not only that it's stupid, but there's something deeper there, right, that told you, you know, maybe these actions are related to something else, right, deeper?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do that. We solidify, if you want to get scientific, we solidify our memories and our experiences synaptically within the brain.
Yeah, get scientific. I love that shit too.
So as you know, when you have a memory, which is an experience to an environment, which Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, who was from the movie What the Bleep, really great guy.
Yeah.
What was the book?
Great movie. If you haven't seen What the Bleep Do You Know?
It was
a great
good.
watch.
Listen, okay, I've been on the circuit for 10 years for personal growth. I mean, you name it. I've spoken with some of the coolest people on the planet. But we do throw our pseudoscience into a lot of things, and we blow it up to be a certain extent. So therefore, we learn to not trust ourselves and each other when we start hearing, the bullshit fly a little bit. But anyway,
wasn't it kind of a leap a little bit though? Spirituality.
It was certainly good.
Yeah. Here's a good question. So, was there a point? So, like for myself, there was almost a snapping point that sort of brought me into this sort of spiritual awakening, and there was of course some build up to that moment. So for you, was there a point where you sort of kind of made a switch?
Absolutely. February 7th, 1998. I got the date, and I think you and I knew each other even back then.
I think
if not, it was very close to then.
Yeah, no, we had to have. Yeah.
No, I wrote about this. I wrote a book. I honestly, I don't know how many books I've written. I've written quite a few. But this one was called The Shift, which is cliche, I know. But February 7th, 1998, I went to bed a complete atheist. I was like, that's it. I was studying of course you know about this story. I was studying out-of-body experience. I was extremely scientific. I didn't want to be bullshitted. I didn't want people to just tell me, this is the way it's going to be. This is the way it is. Don't ask questions. I wanted to know with my intellect, not just my heart, but my intellect, that this stuff was real. And that night, I went to bed and I gave up. And I said, we're nothing but our brain. We cease to exist when we die. There's no God. And it's just, boom, it's right here. End of story. Went to bed that night and had my first conscious dream and my first out-of-body experience. And I came back like, what just happened? And then, of course, over the years, and of course, Marquise, we talked about this and you ended up writing your book. Yeah. But that was the day that it really, because you get to a point where you're searching, and this is what I want to do during this talk. I want people to leave this talk and go, oh my God, I never thought I'd see it that way. Okay, so we'll get real deep in a minute. But for me, it was like, we're just nothing but machines. That's the end of it. So let me go back to Joe Dispenza and this synaptic connection stuff. When we create a memory is a reaction to our environment. I'm using those terms because that's what he said, and I like that. Sure. So therefore, when we solidify a memory, or when we have we create a memory, it's solidified in the brain through a synaptic connection within the brain. Okay. The only way to beat that memory or habit, as Dispenza talks about, is to have a higher emotional reaction. Okay, so if you're scared of dogs, you put yourself at the dog pound and you run into the room. Yeah. And then what happens is that fear, which I call emotional resistance, becomes what's called something else I call a survival code. And a survival code is a series of codes or synaptic connections in the brain that produce emotional resistance. It's the story that solidifies itself. You cut me off, you asshole, okay? A survival code is being fired that second because of our stories. Now, the older we get, the more solidified we become within our story, and the harder it becomes to become more plastic and more open and things like that.
That's something I've become more aware of, like getting older. We were talking about getting older. Yeah. Now I'm 44, and I've realized that as I get older, like what you just said, I hope I didn't cut you off.
No.
Your stream of consciousness, but people tend to get more scared as they get older, right? They're more vulnerable. They're physically not as vibrant, or resilient.
Okay, yeah. So, let me give you the first story in the book Ethic, okay? There's a man who he hates guns, okay? But the world is about to collapse, right? He's starting to see things really falling apart. So to protect his family, and he hated doing this, he goes out and he buys an AR-15. Okay?
Yeah.
8 months after the collapse, he finds himself on a farmer's property, middle of the night, with a small fire, holding that AR-15. Okay? This sounds like a gun issue, but trust me, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay? So what takes place next is this man's story, and I won't give the whole thing away for when the book's done, people can read it themselves.
So it's a fiction book.
It's like, well, Rich Dad Poor Dad was a fiction book, but it didn't seem like it at the time. Of course, Kiyosaki didn't say it was.
Yeah.
But it's fictional stories,
I got you.
which ironically are based on my real life experiences.
Sure. No, that's cool. That's cool.
And then I explain what I'm doing now, what the story and the purpose of the story was. So it's fable and then fact. Okay, so I'm going to give you the fable, then I'm going to give you the fact. Okay, so we have this guy on a farmer's property after the collapse. Why is he there? Why is he there holding a gun he doesn't want to hold on someone else's property? Okay, this is our problem. This is where I start talking about making money, because that's what this book is about, understanding resourcefulness and all these different things. Mm-hmm. So here you have this guy that hates AR-15s on the farmer's property. Let's go back a year and a half. Okay, snowstorm. Horrible snowstorm. Guy's driving and he sees a broken down truck. Everyone's passing this poor old farmer. You'll start to connect it here. The guy stops and says, hey, I think you're my neighbor. Let me help you out. Farmers, if you know farmers like I know farmers, they're like, hey, man, I'll take care of it. Thanks, but whatever. Well, let me help you, in such a way where, if you're changing your tire or whatever, you're not going to get hit by a car. Okay, that's called reciprocity. When this gentleman, not the farmer, the guy at the AR-15, let's say he was a CPA. When the world collapses, CPAs don't matter anymore. Yeah. Okay? All of you guys with YouTube channels out there, no offense, you're not going to matter anymore. Okay? You're just not going to matter anymore. I've made money off of YouTube. I know how to do it. I know how to do the game. But imagine this guy all of a sudden wakes up one day and he's like, I can't hunt. I can't farm. I know a little bit about farming. Yeah. I can't do anybody's taxes for him. I have no use whatsoever. He walks up to the farmer and says, do you remember me? Farmer's got a shotgun pointed at him. Guy doesn't have the AR-15 because that would have been stupid. And the guy says, I do remember you because you're the only person that helped me that day. Boom. Yeah. All of a sudden he says, well, I'll tell you what. If you let me protect your family and your property at dark while you sleep, if you can give me enough food, we'll barter. I'll barter your protection. You barter me food. Yeah. Then it goes on and on and on, where he ends up partnering and learns different and cool things about how to barter and how to get other people involved and to magnify the crops and the animals and so on and so forth, to where they build out the community. Yeah. And also, do you see what I'm getting at? Yeah. This whole thing is based on the ability to be resourceful, but we don't do that because we tell the story in our head. Mm-hmm. We say, I'm educated, the world owes me, I don't need to know anything. Another story, when I worked at Borders Books and Music, lady comes in one day, this is also an ethic, and she says to me, can I use your phone? And I said, what's wrong? And remember the story I gave to you about the guy in the break on the way here? Yeah, okay, yeah. I know cars, right? Yeah. I said, what's wrong? She says, well, my car won't start. I said, what's happening? She says, well, I turned the key and nothing happens. And I said, do the lights dim? She goes, no. I go, then you left it in drive when you parked. We go out there. She puts it, and I asked her too, which car is it? Oh, it's the blue, 1996 Malibu, whatever. I don't know. And I say, okay, we go out there. There it is. Sure enough, car was in drive. We put it in park, starts right up. A week later, lady, and again, if you get offended by this, I don't apologize. Forget that. If you get offended by it, you get offended by it. Week or two later, lady comes in wearing a white fur coat. I need to use your phone. So what's wrong? Car won't start. Well, the lights dim when you turn the key? I don't know. Which car is it? I don't know. The white one out there. Yeah, there's the phone. Do you see? No reciprocity whatsoever. So what did the first lady give to me that was reciprocal? What do you think she gave to me? She didn't offer me money.
Respect. Yeah.
She didn't offer me respect.
The first lady, okay. Yeah.
She did. She said thank you. She offered gratitude. Yeah. But she offered me humility. She connected with me. Mm-hmm. She said, and we don't do that. Yeah. We walk in this world. We say, no, you owe me. Period. But guess what? I've been there when the power's gone out. Yeah. I've seen what happens. The human nature kicks in. So the problem is sometimes we need to just shut the power off. Yeah. We get a good grip on what's going on.
So how does purpose fit into this? We've talked about resourcefulness. We've talked about experience.
It's so simple. None of us see it. Okay. What is the purpose of life?
To live. To live.
Could be right. Could say that.
Why can't we answer this question? It's so simple. That's literally the answer, is to live.
Yeah,
but
we've complicated it so much.
But I can explain it a little easier. I can explain it a little easier.
Let's hear the Adam King version.
This is the Tessera version.
Let's hear the Tessera.
So I was asked on a call once, what's the purpose of life? And I said it's experience. Mm-hmm. Well, no, it's to find God. Well, isn't finding God an experience? It's to find your lover, your soul partner. Well, isn't that experience? So what happens next is when you look at what the purpose of experience is, things start getting interesting. Well, the purpose of experience on a physiological basis is to evolve. So what's the purpose of evolution then? Or what's the grand step towards evolution? It's to become resourceful. Mm-hmm. On the way here, I'm in the left turn lane. Guy's hanging his window out, looking at his brakes. Mm-hmm. I rolled my window down. I said, "You just changed them?" He said, "Yes." I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I offered something for free. I offered clarity, which is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And boom, and if that guy sees me again, he's not going to forget that orange van.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
If I'm broken down, he's going to stop for me.
And if he sees you with a shotgun, you're safe.
If he sees me with a shotgun, he's going to have to. Yeah.
Well, getting back to what you were saying, like, I feel like, for me at least, in my experience, there's supposed to be some room with, like, not knowing. Right?
Absolutely.
Like we always want to know everything, right? We're intellectual beings, right? So we like I can appreciate like taking in the world through the brain and all that.
Yeah.
And knowing why, this monitor's on, why, it rains and all those things. So I think it's a wonderful thing. But I think balancing that out with being okay with the unknown, right? And not necessarily having to explain every little thing.
So what does the unknown offer you?
The unknown offers me actually peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It offers a challenge.
Well, being okay with the unknown, I should say.
But the unknown is what people strive to figure out, because people do not like to be unclear.
I know, it's strange. Right. It's weird.
So look at it this way.
But that also might be reason for so many of the problems that we have, is that we're so terrified of the unknown that fear can drive us crazy.
Let's end this right now. Okay?
Sure,
let's end the fear of the unknown right now. Okay?
Sure.
I did a call once, and someone asked me, it was a caller called in and asked the question, do you believe in life after death? And I said no. Right?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, well, we thought you did with all of your spirit.
Sure.
I said, well, no, because death condones duality. Okay, think about that for a minute.
Sure.
Death condones duality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We as human beings we're dual. You're Victor, I'm Adam, this is Marquise. We have our own experience.
Sure.
Right? Which is, if you look at the world as a solid single unit, okay, and we can even talk about God. If God were in a box by him or herself and said, man, I'm bored, I'm going to create a part of myself that forgets it's a part of me so I can watch it, learn, and experience. That's the not knowing. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of life is to experience. The only stage for experience is to not know. It's to become resourceful. Because when you become resourceful and learn from the unknown or accept the unknown, no matter what you're doing, if you're figuring it out or not figuring it out, you're experiencing. That experiencing is what I call etheric evolution. So the thought, my thoughts, my words right now are etherically or quite scientifically going out into the world. You know that whole every sixth breath you take, Galileo's breath, his last breath was in whatever. So that's exactly what that's about. So when they said, wait, you don't believe in life after death? I said, no, because I don't believe in death. Because life and death condone duality. Eckhart Tolle said, what's the opposite of death? People said life. He goes, no, it's birth. Mm-hmm. There is no opposite of life. So therefore, life after death means more life.
You are life.
Right. But as human beings, it's hard for us to understand because we're in the duality of our own story, which is fine. Yeah. And this is where people argue with me because they're like, well, what about the bum in the street that's an alcoholic? And it's like, listen, we can do everything in our power, but you have to realize a lot of the times that when you're doing something for someone else, you're still doing it for you.
Yeah. But you don't know how they got there.
Well, it also takes
you don't even know all the people that they knew or anything.
Right.
We're always wanting to know that, but we can't really know that. So can you be okay with not knowing that and not being 100% sure?
It's the similar dilemma of, well, I need to give my money. If there's money on the table left, I needed to give it to the other person. Well, what if the other person's an idiot and is going to go blow this money on cocaine and hookers where you were going to do something better for that money and grow the money? I don't mean to, get too nasty, but
we like nasty.
You get the idea, right? So when you're negotiating a deal, whether it's real estate or a business or a joint venture, and we'll talk more about that. You have to understand that your value, you have to have value based on your resourcefulness. And if I'm way more resourceful way more resourceful than you, and you're saying I want 80%, and I say, well, that's not fair, I can justify that. And I see a lot of people get hung up on the money issue because they're like, well, we hate taking money, we just want to help people. Well, I see a lot of people say that and just want to help themselves, which is still noble, okay? Because if you help yourself, you have a better chance of helping others. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, not to get too off the tangent, but going back to this thing about, not knowing, people will spend and do anything to be clear. And most of us, when we were in our 20s, in our 30s, it could destroy us.
So what do you mean by that?
Well,
like in terms of like
I was raised Christian. I don't believe in Christ now because I've seen too many other things going on in the world. Okay. Or I was raised to believe that this happens, when we die, but I'm starting to doubt it. Or I was raised this way, and all of a sudden we start to not believe in things, and the reason is because we haven't been brought up to self-validate.
So, do you think everyone sort of has that drive to find clarity in their life?
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
I agree
and clarity, I just used the powerful word, self-validation. Yeah. Now clarity is attention.
Okay.
How many likes am I getting?
Yeah.
Do people like what I said? Were they offended? Am I codependent?
Yeah.
Do I need other people? Oh, my God. That's what has become the new commodity is attention. I mean, someone did a meme once. It was like, hey, everyone, can I get your attention? Cool, thank you for your attention.
Sure.
And that was the end of it.
So, I guess, I was going to try to sum up clarity. It was the word clarity that was sort of throwing me off. I was going to sum that up more as attention. But that makes sense. So.
Yeah. Well, clarity can be defined many different ways. It's like money buys you happiness. No, money buys you clarity. Money buys you, oh God, I'm sick, I can buy the best doctor.
Money can buy illusions too.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Money can do some really crazy things to you. Yeah. But that's what we all want. And it's not wrong to want clarity.
Yeah.
It's certainly not. But when you get to a point where you're like, it's cool to not know and to be challenged, you're taking responsibility for yourself, which is huge. And you're accountable to yourself.
It almost sounds like you're saying people want validation.
People want nothing but validation,
and that's sort of what I'm seeing. You're equating that
to clarity.
Clarity as validation, which I do think is very true.
Let me
let me just tell a story. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, and he was from China, and he was saying the differences between the two countries, and over in China, that people there don't really care about having that form of validation. He was saying it's a very American thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's true. I think social media has exploded around the planet, and that's a telling feature that people, they do want to be heard. They want that sort of they want their identity to be molded, and that creates a lot of problems. But I think that's ubiquitous in humanity. So I think you're right.
We want to be remembered. We want to be accepted by the community. Yeah. We want to. It's funny. I say self-validation. It's almost a weapon in a negotiation.
Sure.
It's like, someone saying, well, I hate you and your work, and I think that you're a liar and you're a fool and you're retarded and stupid, and then you come back with, I completely understand your point. Like, I can see that. It's in any negotiation or debate, that's the first thing you do, is you agree with the person confronting you. But if you can sincerely do that and then state your claim, the next point is to get them to think that your idea, that is a shift, was their idea. That is self-validation. Because most of us have already made up our minds. Hey guys, do you like the red or the blue? Bullshit. You already know you like the blue, and if we all say you look better in the red, you're still going to pick the blue. So if we all say, you know what, which one do you like? Well, I kind of like the blue, but what do you think about the red? Well, I kind of like the blue. That self-validation is just so much quicker. So bringing this back into clarity.
So you're saying, is it an instant gratification thing?
We want gratification much easier, yeah. So if we get validated, even the quicker, the better. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to sit here and say I don't want it. I want people to like my work and like my music and like my stories. It's not going to happen.
Do you think that's a healthy way of living?
To be what? To be seeking validation all the time?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
But there's that ego part of all of us that want that.
It's not going to go away. It's perfectly natural. It's natural, right?
Yeah,
we kill each other. It's
anything
natural.
that becomes obsessive gets to be a problem, right?
Right.
The obsessive part it's sort of I call it like a bastardized version of what was once natural.
Yeah.
It's a function that's a part of you that has sort of gone beyond its bounds, and it doesn't have the limitations that should sort of naturally be set in because of the way that we live now. It's almost like a dog that would normally have to go out and hunt in the wild for its food, and so it would eat in proportion to what it needed. Whereas now they're at home, you plop food down, it'll fatten its butt up real quick. You know?
Right, but we do have a bigger problem.
Become very human,
the bigger problem is that we try to control each other by saying what's right and what's not right.
Sure.
So we can say that, I can say validation is horrible, but it could be the only thing for someone that keeps them alive. Mm-hmm. And so therefore it can be used as the right tool. The point is whether validation is good or bad, it's still experience.
Well, we want to say, and again, it is important to understand the difference between something that's healthy and right or wrong, because as everybody knows, right or wrong, that's up so often left to interpretation.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
let me give you an example.
Sure.
If I murder you and cut your head off, and my religion says that is a noble thing for my people, and it's going to spiritually move me up the ladder, is that right or is it wrong?
Again, that is based on the perspective of the person.
If you're getting your head cut off, it's freaking wrong, right? Or if it's a loved one, or if you want to look at the entire human species and say we shouldn't be doing this shit anymore. Yeah. But the problem is that we do.
Yeah, and how many people are really truthful about that? Even if your so-called whatever thing that you follow does tell you that, is that enough to satisfy that person who just committed that heinous act? Right?
And why are they really doing it to begin with?
It's fascinating.
Exactly.
It's absolutely fascinating.
It is, yeah.
And then when you
say fear is basically the motivation for
all of
it. Yeah, honestly. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like you look at the current school system, right? And you look at the way jobs are and things like that. School systems were developed from the corporations, to basically breed the next generation to work for the companies.
Sure.
Is that right or is it wrong? What if the company sells
is it healthy?
Food and all these different things? So we could go down this rabbit hole for weeks and weeks, and there would be 50% of the people would be like, oh, these guys are making perfect sense, and the other 50% would be like, these guys are assholes, and I don't know what they're trying to accomplish.
I think that's when the term, and this, there might be a better way of saying it, but I think that's when the question, is it healthy, kind of comes into play. Mm-hmm. Because if we go back to the question of, a guy cutting people's heads off in the name of his God because he believes that's the right thing to do, or in a very American sense, going off to other countries and sort of placing their people in a debt and kind of putting them into a sense of debt slavery. Whether or not it's healthy is a greater question. It's most of these behaviors. You can very honestly and ubiquitously say, no, it's not healthy.
Do you know what the important question is, though? Is it normal? And if it's normal, why? And as a scientist, you're going to wind up in the same place. Well, it's physiological, And I was saying about the school shootings, and I do not want to go down this path right now. But I was talking to my wife about it. I said, how many girls have we seen do this? And then, of course, a week later, the girl goes and shoots up Google, or the YouTube facility. But it's true. So you look at the chemical in the upbringing of the human condition, and it gets very crazy. Anyway, I think we're getting off topic. I want to bring this back a little bit.
Sure.
But either way, I think that these conversations are... I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun diving into these conversations in the future because you're absolutely right.
We're having fun for sure.
Yeah, as a species, we control. But let's bring this back to the individual for a moment. Let's talk about people who are sitting here thinking, I don't know what the purpose of my life is. I don't know how to make money. I wasn't brought up right. I was born in the hood. I've had, my parents are drug addicts, alcoholics, not even together, dead, whatever. Okay, and I'm not trying to point out a specific person, but kind of. I want to speak to the people here that think that there's no way out of this. There is certainly a way out of this. Number one, we talked about reciprocity. We could argue the purpose of life is to experience, but imagine this for a moment. Let's forget right or wrong, but let's talk natural. if the purpose of life was to experience, and the purpose of experience was to produce an evolution for our species and everything, etheric, energy, psychogenic, whatever, corporeal, then having the ability to have resource and learning resource, education, experience itself would be wonderful. And what if we focused our lives on making our lives the best they could be based on our situation and our life situation, and we're cognizant and empathetic of those around us? It would change the world. This is literally what I consider the most positive evolution there is. Because there's people out there that are like, you know what, I have no purpose in life, I have no money, I'm just going to kill myself. And I'm thinking, you're missing the point. There's a huge opportunity here, no matter how shitty things seem, to produce this little world. And this is why I created the Tessera method. The Tessera method, a Tessera is a piece of a mosaic, a Tessera tower, a Tessera. And we are, in a dualistic sense, the people on the earth, the Tessera, and the earth is the mosaic, okay? And we can also even become, bring that out. We can say humanity is a Tessera and the universe is the mosaic. Mm-hmm. Every little thing that we do, like this reminds me of Michael Talbot's Holographic Universe book, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. I can't believe he didn't write any better books after that. But talks about how every little piece reverberates out into other parts. Okay, so imagine that every little footprint, or I'll call it etheric footprint, that we leave reverberates out. It can either be something that damages and is selfish, or something that is also selfish but positive to the self in the way of a chemical addiction to the brain. And when I say chemical addiction to the brain, I'm talking dopamine, I'm talking joy, I'm talking excitement, not just the codependent, I need you to like me, but the, oh my God, you like me? Sweet, I'm going to like you too, or I'll like you first. Mm-hmm. Just like helping the guy with the brakes. If I break down, he's going to be like, oh my God, you were just helping me. And you were right, my truck's running. Here, where can I take you? The farmer and the guy with the AR-15. The CPA with the AR-15, the farmer. It's so simple. But you look at this, and you break it down into the most simplest possible way. Purpose of life is to experience. The purpose of experience is to create memories, etc., to evolve myself, the species, because if and when you die, mm-hmm. however your religion and your beliefs, you still produce that energy outward. Okay, if you believe in reincarnation, that energy is going to catch back up with you one way or the other. Okay, if you melt a Lego figure in a pot, he becomes the soil turns into a tree, Lego figure comes back to life, so to speak. Okay, I can't make it any easier than that. But focusing on the little things that we do for ourselves, that, like you said in the beginning, wonder. I love living in the wonder. It's the greatest thing in the world. Without it, there's no novelty. Novelty is a huge thing for human beings. We want to do different things and experience different things, but at the same time, within that novelty, sometimes we're looking for clarity. Even the clarity of saying, I love to live in the wonder. I feel good living in the wonder. That's a chemical drop from the brain into the body saying, I'm happy with this. Yeah. Those were your words. So even wonder is still a form of clarity. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm getting pretty deep here, but I'm trying to produce a model.
Well, that brings me to a good question. So, to someone who might have a hard time sort of listening, because a lot of this, I could see how someone could be a little like it's a bit much to take in. I'm not sure.
Probably 95% of everyone hearing this right now.
Well, so let's ask them now. How do we make this accessible for a novice, someone who's new to the game? Someone who feels the sort of torture in their lives and pain, but they're looking for some sort of solution. What would you say to them? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Well, I wouldn't give an advice. I'd give at least one model. Okay, and this was in another book that I'm writing for a program called Eden Sync. It was for the Becoming 224, which was about a guy who walks into a diner and he starts paying attention to everyone, and he sees what they all want in their lives. And then he leaves transcripts in a cave by the ocean, and they all find it. And it's this whole, transcripts of how they can become who they want to become, the dancer, and so on and so forth. There was a meditation or an idea for simulation where if you imagine you're sitting in front of a wall, like right now, if you look at the wall in front of us, if you were to just sit there and imagine your hand reaching into the wall without physically reaching your hand into the wall, and those people who have had out-of-body experiences will definitely get this. But if you reach into the wall right now, if I say feel the drywall in the 2x4, feel the paint as your hand penetrates the wall, you can do that, right? You doing it right now? I'm looking at Victor, by the way, as I'm saying this. Okay, so And you may not be able to do this as I'm talking, but reverse it. Imagine the wall reaching back to you through your own arm to where you are the wall and your body is now the inanimate object. Okay, this is a practice of oneness. Okay, so I think that what we miss, and this is where I came up with the term parallel awareness, is to remove ourselves from the story. Okay, so you escape from your story, and this is one of the techniques to do it. Another step is to become the soil, become the environment. This is, again, parallel awareness. It's the whole, if you ever played Assassin's Creed, you get to be the eagle, you get to be the assassin, you get to, join the two forces, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And then empathy is always the next step. In empathy, seeing other people and everything in the world, dogs, cats, carpet, ants, whatever, seeing that as a part of yourself and the self is huge. And it doesn't make any sense right now to say empathetically, be empathetic to carpet, right? But if you understand that perspective of oneness without getting too hokey, and you guys are looking at me now like I don't know if he's making a lot of sense, but hopefully this does.
No, not at all.
Okay, good. I don't want to, if I'm losing you, I'm losing them, right? So I've been in so many situations as a writer, as a musician, as a composer, as a creator. You hate yourself. You think you're full of shit. You think you're a fraud. You hate everything about yourself. You'll write a book. You'll read it. You'll be like, oh my God, what is this garbage? I've written songs where I have just bawled and no one liked it. And then I've written songs where it took me 2 hours from start to finish and they've gone viral. Yeah. And I don't understand it. And there's always this huge battle within the human condition through the story and becoming source. Okay? And I'm trying to make this as little as spiritual as I can. But the point is, that's where we have to start. I think people get too hung up on, oh, my life is horrible and this has happened. Well, what if everything that happened to you in your life was a synaptic connection and it was nothing more? It was just the refiring of your alcoholic father beating you. It was just a refiring of that same memory. Yeah. Humans can only focus on one thing at the same time anyway. Jonathan Haidt wrote an amazing book called The Happiness Hypothesis. And he talked about how the brain can only focus on one thing. Like if I tell you to think of a white elephant, tell me when you're not thinking of a white elephant. You can't. Because the brain can't not focus on that one thing as it's focusing on it. So what if I told you all you're focusing on, or what if your actual perspective of life was just a bunch of bullshit memories?
But aren't we always trying to do more than one thing and focus on more than one thing all the time?
Which is detrimental to productivity if you've ever done it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my pet peeves, and I do it still. But, being in the world and business or whatever.
How many books did I say I was writing in this one call? Yeah, right? Yeah. I do it.
I mean, how often have you gone, say, to a job interview or you're in class or something, and they always preach, learn the art of multitasking. Yeah. Everything that we do.
That's because they want you to work more efficiently and harder, but it's not efficient.
For less money. You get dumber.
No,
you get dumber and you don't engage those things that are so important.
You lose awareness.
You lose sleep. Yeah. You get more stressed out.
Of your emotions.
Your whole life starts to crumble down. Yet for some, and here's the odd thing, and this is a little off. I know. But here's the odd thing about this is that for a society that on some level we all kind of seem to resonate and understand that we're stringing each other too tight, we still push it. You give the average man a position of power, and there's still something in his psyche that will drive him to behave like that and ask the same things out of it. So that's what it's important to have guys like you, Adam, out here. I think it's important to have our channel out here to remind people that true change, I think, starts with that introspective, that introspection that you're kind of talking about right now. So.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And
yeah, I mean, how could you not want more?
Listen, we all want more.
When your whole thing is about what you can feel in your hands, right? What you could see right in front of you,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right, and even the things you can't see. Let's play devil's advocate to ourselves.
Sure,
let's say this whole purpose of life and experience is whatever. Well, what if I'm addicted to experience? What if the next week I'm jumping out of a plane, and then more and more and more and more, and that dopamine hit is more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that there's certainly boundaries to the type of experiences that we want to have, or that we can have, and that we want to have. And going back to this person that's like, I just don't feel like I have any purpose in life. I don't feel like I'm making anything matter. I just think that it's really interesting to see that perspective shifts even synaptically and physiologically within the brain. But to say, what if it was just all a lie? Like, what if you took a pill and you forgot everything? Would you still be the same person? And you start having these deeper conversations. But to shed hope, look at, if you're depressed and let me rephrase that. When I've been depressed, it's been a chemical addiction to depression. It's been like, you know what? I don't have the answers. My life sucks. I just wish somebody would just show up and tell me what to do. And you know how many times I felt that growing up? The record deal, the movie contract, scoring this, doing that, speaking here, getting on the circuit, thinking all the millions of dollars are going to come, becoming a private lender in real estate, all these different, we've made it. It's there. It's just not the way it works. It's not the way, but when you change your perspective, it's absolutely incredible. Okay, the guy on the way here, I'll bring it up again. Guy's brakes are smoking. You know how far I could take that?
It's like the punchline of a joke.
Do you know how far I could take that?
Yeah.
You know, one guy, what if the next person... I'm in a grocery store one day, and this is a couple weeks after my mother-in-law, Jennifer's mom, passed away. And I'm sitting at the cashier register, and there's an elderly gentleman in front of me, and we should have probably talked more about this type of thing, but I'm looking at him, and I can read everything in that moment. He's got a quart of ice cream, he's got a TV dinner, a half gallon of milk, right? And he's tapping his pocket for his wallet. So what did I just tell you so far?
Well, he's got a Bud Light in the car too.
He's got a Bud Light car. No, he is single. Right? Eat like that, old guys do that. That's just the way it is. And he doesn't have his wallet on him. So
all that stuff gives you a chemical reaction in your body.
Exactly.
Right?
So I took listen to this story. It's a great story. I told the guys, Dan and Chip Heath, about this story. The guys who did the book Switch and Made to Stick. Switch is a phenomenal book, by the way. How to make change happen. I can't remember which one of those guys is a Stanford professor. One of them is. Anyway, so I take the divider out between the middle, and I say, I got it. And he goes, and I just got off a call like the week before. Someone interviewed me about Tessera and some other stuff, and we were talking about generosity and whatnot. And I said, no, I got it. And it was like, I think it was $26 for his groceries. He goes, no, you can't do that. And I said, yeah, I can, and I'm going to. And I'm looking at the cashier, I go, ring it up. And she's ringing it up. And he goes, you can't do that. And I said, listen, the greatest gift is to receive. Therefore, you let other people to give. So let me give to you. And he goes, fine. And I pay for it. And he asked me for my name. And I said, I'm not giving you my name. Right? So I pay for his stuff. He thanks me. Everyone's watching us, right? I'm walking out, smile on my face. He goes, wait. And I turn around. He's got his wallet in his hand. Pulls out a $100 bill and hands it to me. And I said, no, I can't take it. He goes, the greatest gift in the world is to receive.
That's awesome.
And I took this, and then I Googled the guy when I got home, because, I was in real estate, so I got to stalk people a little bit. And it turns out that he was celebrating his wife's birthday, who passed away a year before.
Oh, okay.
But you see how, these little moments of huge potential. But doing that in your entire life. Let me give you one more story, because I know we're starting to run out of time.
Yeah.
Here's a simulation I did on a lot of the speaking events that I was on. Imagine that you are with me in a restaurant. Okay, it's a super beautiful, busy restaurant. Friday night, place is filled to the brim, and I hand you 10 $100 bills. Okay, and I say to you, if you can go make the owner a client for your business right now, you can keep the $1,000. But first, I want you to think about what you're going to spend that money on. Maybe you have a new hot water tank you need to pay for. Maybe you need to pay rent. Maybe you need to make a car payment. Maybe you can put it down in a car. Maybe you can buy your girlfriend or boyfriend a nice ring, whatever. But I want you to think about that and hold the money. Okay? This is a really important part, too. And then I say, go. If you fail, you give me the $1,000 back. Okay, so what's the first question? If this was really happening in real time, what would be the first things that would go through your mind? Besides, oh shit.
Why do you have this kind of money to give away so easily?
Okay, well, that's probably not that's probably not the first question. The first question would be, how do you keep the money? Okay? But the second question would be, how do you keep the money? Did I tell you what business you're in? Did I tell you what to go say? So this is a huge play on clarity. Okay, this is a phenomenal ending. All right, maybe we'll even end on this. But people that are listening to this are like, well, you didn't tell me what business I'm in. You didn't tell me what to say. It's Friday night. I got to get through the hostess first, and she's guarding the kitchen, like a knight. How do I get through her to get to him? I don't want to get her fired. And then you start, and all this emotional, and this is what we do. I don't want to be a public speaker. I'm going to be laughed at. I'd rather die. Yeah. I don't want to follow my dreams and go start an Amazon store or start my own podcast or try this new business because I just don't have all the answers. Okay? Well, what if I didn't have the answers either? Okay, so here's what I tell people. Obviously, you're not going to go up and say and make the guy a client because I haven't told you what business you're in or any of the other things. So you pay attention to the room. Okay, this is parallel awareness, and this is huge. And this has made me more money and I could go story after story, and I'll leave that for the ethic book. The first thing you do is you step outside of your story. Forget your resistance. I got to make the guy a client. He has obviously other people made him a client, or he wouldn't own a restaurant. So you pay attention to the drapes, the people, what they're talking about, the food they're eating, everything you possibly can, and then you get to a place where you start offering reciprocity, and here's how you do it. You walk up to the hostess and you say, listen, and I'm trying to, by the way, I always have to make the disclaimer, this isn't manipulation, okay? Don't do it to where you're manipulating, because you certainly can, okay? This is just simply empathy and reciprocity. You walk up to the host and say, listen, I know it's a busy Friday night, but you see my friend Marquise over there? Well, I'm in town. I didn't know what restaurant to take him to. Obviously, I made the right choice here. I got to tell the owner how wonderful this is. Let me talk to him. Instantly, I just offered her an opportunity to look good. I didn't say I need to make him a client. Okay? Yeah. Owner comes out. He's got the towel over his shoulder. He's pissed off. What is it? I said, same story. I just brought my friend Marquise here. I noticed everyone eating the lobster and shallots. I noticed they were all talking about the burgundy used for the drapes, the way the candles were. Everything you set out here is absolutely amazing. I just want to thank you for helping me make the right choice. The next step, no matter what it is to share more of what the person wants. What does a restaurant owner want? What did the hostess want? She wanted to look good and get paid, maybe. Help people out, maybe. I've worked in a lot of restaurants. The hostesses weren't there to help people out, number one. Because that was their job. Usually the job isn't instantly to help someone out. It's to get paid by helping people out and to get the hell out of there and go party with your friends, right? So why does a restaurant owner own a restaurant? So these are questions that we don't ask. When we build businesses, when we build brands, when we build our own purpose in our life, we don't know how to communicate with other people. We don't know how to look. That guy, back to the truck, he was freaking out. His front tire was smoking. He was freaking out. I looked at it and said, it's okay. Here's the problem. It's one of two things, maybe both. He's like, I got a half mile. Yeah, let it cool down. Don't put a hose on it. And then here's how you fix it.
All right. Well, let's, I guess we'll kind of end on that note. It's been pretty awesome talking to you, man. I've got a couple of questions for you. You've got 2 books. One is available right now. Ethic is not available right now. Which one is?
The book's called Another World Awaits. It's a free download for a very short time. I've been meaning to take it and put it in the store. It's on innereden.com. It's right there on the front. You just opt in and you can download it. I'm not sure when Ethic will be done. I'm hoping in the summer.
Okay.
But Ethic is a lot more work. Another World Awaits is a fictional story.
Sure.
Of a woman who sees a psychiatrist, and it is literally the entire history and story of the Tessera method.
Okay.
It talks about what it is, it uses archetypes, much deeper sense. But Ethic is going to be a very applicable book. That restaurant story I just talked about, that's in Ethic.
Oh, perfect.
There's real estate examples in Ethic, but more importantly, Ethic wasn't meant to be a business book. That's not who I am. Okay, obviously I run businesses, but they're all based on my art, writing, composing, things like that. Ethic was meant to be a practical guide for people that want to either engage or are already engaged in empathy. And I say empathy and also the word strategic altruism, which is understanding, going back to the bum in the corner, how can you strategically help that person out and have them see past their own ego if it's hurting them or yourself or your family or their family.
So a lot of what you talk about, there's a lot of coaching in there, a lot of coaching. Where can people reach you? Like if let's say someone hears this, they're like, man, I like what this guy's talking about. How do I reach out to him and hear more of it?
The second you get on my email list, it's over. So if you go to innereden.com and opt in, you're going to hear from me all the time. And
okay.
You'll know how to respond to me.
Do you do things like one-on-one sessions?
No, I don't do any
seminars, classes. No,
okay. I don't. The things I do, I have a lot of projects with partners where we do simulations with the music.
Yeah.
we're going to have to talk about that another time.
Yeah.
I think. But
this guy's got some pretty awesome music too. I've been hearing it for decades.
Yeah, but I do not do any one-on-one coaching. I don't consider Ethic to be coaching. There will probably be opportunities that would be more like a group training thing once the book comes out. Sure. Yeah.
You mentioned the Little Red Recorder. Is that something you...
That's a whole other talk.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, that's a whole other talk.
Well, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Really want to thank you for coming out, my man.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was great because I think this is only the second time I've actually even got to be this close to you. But it was great just during the talk just to get to know you.
Yeah, very, for sure.
And more importantly, guys, it's been easy.
Hopefully an easy awakening. This talk, right?
It's been an easy awakening for you. But thanks a lot. Check us out on Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Podbean. Like and subscribe no matter where you're hearing or watching us from. And again, check out InnerEden.com. This has been Adam King. Thanks a lot, my friend. We'll see you guys next time. Peace. Leave some damn comments, people. Leave some comments.